Welcome to the Aroma Paths Podcast. We are your scentcasters, Jennifer Pressimone and Sharon Falsetto Chapman, bringing over 40 years of combined experience. Are our passion, and we'll be sharing holistic tips, herbal remedies, and essential oils in a simple way to make your health journey easier.
Aroma Paths stepping fresh through the mist. Essential oils lifting vibes, feel the twist.
Welcome to this episode where we are going to be dedicating all of the information we're going to be sharing for women's health and healing. We're going to be talking all things aromatherapy, botanicals, plants, everything that you can use to help you along your journey. And we are going to be sharing some really personal information. Sharon and I both are educators, as many of you know. And we always lead by example. And I believe that we all go through our own journey to learn everything that we can and then share it. This is going to be a very special episode because we do want to help you feel empowered wherever you are in your journey, whether you're at the beginning and you're in a very dark, deep place, a depression state, or you're in the middle, you're in the messy middle, as I call it, or you're through the turbulence and now you're on your upswing. We're going to be sharing all of these different things that we've picked up along the way that have helped us. We're so excited that you are here. Sharon, I know this is going to be such a special episode, and I'm glad to be on this journey with you.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit emotional, but I feel like I'm past the messy middle, as you say, and on the other side of it, hopefully, because I've got some things to share about that. It would take more than a podcast of 45-minute episode to share everything, but I hope that whoever's listening to this can identify with it and give them some tools to help them along their journey.
I just want to share, we both have been through ups and downs in our lives, and certainly through some emotional dramas and traumas, and I believe we're both through that messy middle, and that's why we wanted to come to a place of sharing. We're going to be sharing maybe some delicate information, some things that on an emotional journey, you know where you are in that journey, but you never know what can trigger different emotions to come up at different times. So we just want to be mindful that wherever you are in your journey, we are going to be sharing, again, some personal information, and just want you to be aware. Please feel free to reach out if you need to. We would love to be able to support you. And Sharon, I want to turn it over to you because I know you have a lot on your heart that you want to share in this special episode of Aromatherapy for Women's Emotional Health.
Yeah, before I start, I just want to say that there might be some trigger points. So this is your trigger warning if you're listening to it. And of course, if you really need to reach out for medical help, do that. If you're in that place, we're not qualified to deal with that. So please do that. With that out of the way, I just want to start off by saying this episode is going out in October. October is Women's Domestic Violence Month. I shouldn't just say women because it also includes men and whatever gender you identify with. So it's just for me personally, it was as a woman. So that's why I'm wearing the purple, because this is actually purple sage, which is kind of fitting because sage is wisdom. And I think I have come through this with some wisdom. So I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of my story. That is probably a book for another day. But I just want to say I went through some emotional abuse in my life. It took me to a very dark place at times, to the point of I was self-harming. I did not have the support that I needed at that time. Fortunately, I got through that. I did reach out to the doctor at the time. I was kind of a breaking point at that. But that really was just the start of my healing journey from that. It's very hard. Emotional abuse is a very thing to recognize that you're going through it, and recognize and acknowledge that you're going through it, that it's happening to you, because it messes with your head, it messes with your mind. and you come up with all sorts of different reasons. Oh, this isn't happening to me, it just must be me. And it really puts you in a bad place of you have no self-worth really at the end of it. So it's like a long, dark hole to climb out of. I have to say that I was qualified in aromatherapy when it happened. So much so I couldn't help myself, as it were, and I was pretty isolated. I was in a new country. What was a new country then? I really didn't have any friends, and family was far away. I did have my dog. Anybody who is an animal lover will know, dog was a lifesaver. It wasn't Harry, who I have now. It was my previous dog, George. And he was my reason for keeping going at that time. So I did use some aromatherapy during that, but I want to talk about what's helped me afterwards. Another thing that really helped me to get back on my feet was starting a garden. The beauty in my world it's hard to explain, but the beauty in my world had been taken away. I couldn't see anything beautiful. And after I got through that, I wanted to create something beautiful. And people that knew me from there, it's like my creativity just exploded. It had been really pushed down, and then suddenly it just exploded. And I painted my house in lots of beautiful colors. And you really need your sunglasses on when you come in my house because it's not muted white anymore. There's lots of different colors, as you can see behind me with the sunflower and then the blue walls. Blue was a healing color, and I kind of identified with that. But also out in the garden, I kind of started with just one bed of flowers. I just wanted a few flowers to make things look pretty, and it kind of grew from there into a bigger project and herbs, and really getting down and dirty with all the plants and knowing everything about them. And just, it was a place to go, somewhere to just sit and breathe. Because even though I say I'm through this, I still suffer from panic attacks. I can wake up in the middle of the night and have a panic attack. I can just be watching the TV and it might not be anything triggering. So this is the reason I have Harry as well, who has been trained to be my service dog as well. He helps to get me back in a place to ground me, as well as some of the aromatherapy blends that I have. Also, what really helped me is I'm a writer, as some of you probably know, but it was all more technical stuff, writing about aromatherapy and, facts, all that. The other surprising thing that came out of this was I suddenly started writing poetry. It was a way of expressing my feelings, I think, of getting it all out, this emotions that have been oppressed for so many years. It just, all those feelings about what I'd gone through, it just came flowing out of me. It was ridiculous at times. I was like driving to the grocery store and these words were coming in my head, and I had to pull over, and I found my junk mail that I just picked up from the mailbox and scribbling these words down because I would have forgotten them by the time I got home. It was like I was getting all these downloads that are coming out of my brain that I couldn't express before. So I do plan to hopefully next year put this all together in a poetry book to help others who have gone through this, and also package it up with what I call my warrior blend, which we're going to be getting to soon, an aromatherapy blend that can go with that, so that anybody's going through that, and if you're reading the book, this will help you, the blend that I came out of that with. And I also want to talk a little bit about aromatic journaling and what that is. But Jennifer, do you have anything to intersect at this point?
I just want to let you know I am just in awe of you. And it takes a lot of gut and it takes a lot of healing to get to the place that you're at. I didn't know you at the time, but I did know you after that situation and have been a part of your healing journey for the past few years. And it's been a beautiful process to watch you blossom and flourish. And you're right. I think your creativity has expanded because when you have been through an emotional abuse situation, I've have had my own emotional abuse situations that I've been through. You go through a really dark place, and your creativity, you're right, you question yourself, you wonder, why am I here? You lose your identity, you have no self-worth, and you feel defeated and overwhelmed and everything at the same time. And it's really hard to pick yourself up. And I think everybody has a support system, but we forget. And I think, especially as women, we forget, we try to hide it. We put on a happy face and we hide
Mhm.
it. And people don't know. I've gone through emotional situations where I didn't allow any support system because I didn't feel like I had a support system who could help me at that time. But that also taught me later on, when I went through another emotional trauma, that I did have a support system when I reach out. But I know aromatherapy really helped me become more resilient, become more
Mhm.
aware. So I just want to let you know, I think from all of us who's listening and watching, we appreciate your vulnerability in sharing. And while we're not going to get into all the nooks and crannies of the specifics of the situation, we wanted to let you know everybody's got their own story, everybody's got their own journey. We both are just sharing how we are using other tools. So, what are some holistic tools that are in our toolbox, that's within your toolbox, that you can use? And I love that you talked about garden therapy, soil therapy,
Yeah.
and I love that you talked about writing. And then both of those really connecting the two, the garden and the writing, to be able to have Sedona aromatics and to have your
Mhm.
school and your perfume line and your blends, and going through all of those stages have brought you to where you are. And for those of you listening and watching, every step is a stepping stone to get you to that next stone. Keep going. Don't give up. It's really hard to be hopeful in those dark times, but we're hoping that this is going to give you some rays of light and hope. So I'm curious, Sharon, what are some specifics? You talked about garden therapy. I'd love to hear some specific, maybe plants that spoke to you during that time, and how did that translate into your writing, and what inspired your warrior blend?
Well, anybody who's been watching or who knows me, I'm going to say sunflower. It was kind of a bit of a love-hate thing because I loved sunflowers. But as I was going through the emotional abuse with this person, he bought me sunflowers. And so it was kind of, as an apology, or I didn't mean this, or I didn't mean that. And so it was kind of, well, how do I disassociate this with one of my favorite flowers? So I kind of worked on that. I started growing sunflowers, which are different than store-bought sunflowers. I think store-bought sunflowers are more sterile unless you get them from a farm producing it kind of locally. And so I began to see the beauty again in the sunflower and how resilient it was, how it kind of just bloomed. Some of them are just single flower and that's it. They just flower once and that's it, but they put all that energy into that. But some are, multi-branching, and so there's lots of different flowers on different things, and they don't just come in yellow, they come in lots of different colors. I've got a beautiful bronze kind of chocolate brown one, that also there's a really like vivid red one that I've had as well, and some I kind of got more of a greeny tinge than yellow. So it showed me the diversity that you could be just from one single species, as it were, like we're a species, that all of these different directions you can go in. And you might be thinking, as an aromatherapist, well, sunflower doesn't really smell, but it does. It has this, if you smell the actual sunflower, it's got this kind of greenish, I can't explain it, greeny kind of aroma that I found comforting at the time. And so I started to work on, I wanted to do I was just gonna, sorry, I had some statistics here, which I should have probably said at the beginning, because I did do a workshop on this a long time ago. And it's the statistics I found where it says that more than 68% of children and adolescents had experienced a potentially traumatic event by the age of 16. So there is a lot of people out there that, you're not alone in dealing with this. And it affects schoolwork for young people, it affects physical problems, it affects your work and just your personal life. So I decided to put together what I call my warrior plant. In this workshop, I challenged my students to do, what would be a plant that you identify with? What would you call your warrior plant? Well, for me, mine is sunflower. For somebody else, it might be rose, it might be sage, it might be whatever it is you identify with. It could be a tree as well. It could be the juniper tree, which is a pretty strong healing tree. But for me, it was sunflower. And so I put together a roll-on blend, which included a base of sunflower oil, and I also mixed it up with jojoba as well. The essential oils that I put in here I did put sunflower in. I talked about, again, if it was on this episode, I think it was in a previous episode, we talked about sunflower essential oil, that there is a sunflower essential oil. It's very hard to find, but I've got a little bit of it, so I put that in it. I put cardamom in it because it was grounding, it was earthy. I also put blood orange in it. I wanted to bring the brightness back into my life. And carrot seed, also another grounding one. It's like putting your roots down for carrot seed. And vetiver is also another grounding one that I put in. Vetiver can be different from depending on which country you get it from. So the Haiti one is the one that I identified with in this instance. And also sandalwood I put in there. As you can see, some pretty grounding ones, and also some bright ones that would bring some light in. And my observations that I have written down here about it was very earthy and calming, with faint citrus and green top note on the dry down. And so you could put, and there was different numbers of drops that I put in there, and you could vary it up. But my idea was that when things got too much, you put this blend on, you inhale it, it would ground you again, remind you how important you are, that you do matter, that it would just bring you back to yourself if you're starting to go into a panic attack. And so you carry this around with you. And I also got them to do a working exercise for what I call aromatic journal. Before they put this blend together, it's like, okay, choose your warrior plant. What is your warrior plant? Why did you choose that? Why did you identify with this? So I'll share with you what my reasons were why I identified with sunflower. The color that I talked about, all the different colors, the observations while I grew it from seed versus what I class as sterile store-bought sunflowers. I was intuitively drawn towards it as well. And I discovered that it did have an aroma. I still learn a lot about sunflower. I mean, people know that I obsess about sunflowers. Really. It's just because I think I just identify with this plant. And I mentioned this in a previous episode that my neighbor grew at 14-foot sunflower. Just how huge these things can get. And there can be just little ones as well and popping out. And I see them everywhere. And so it must be just part of my journey. Last year, I went up to Utah, to Salt Lake City, to the Aromatherapy Conference, the National Association Holistic Aromatherapy Conference. And it was October, it was early October, and I drove up through Utah, and all on the side of the road, because they're very native around here, were all these little sunflowers popping up. So they're like my little cheerleaders. Hey, there you are. Come on, let's keep going. So to me, sorry, my dog Harry's just got up because I was saying, hey, I think there's somebody at the window. It's okay, Harry. No, it's okay. So yeah, there was all these different things about it, but I also challenged them, learn as much as you can. This is aromatic journaling, so learn what you can about the plant. How do you use it, like as a carrier oil, as an essential oil? What is the aroma? And and kind of journal and carry on the journey with this for a few months and see how you feel about it. And it helps you focus on something positive to come out of this. I managed to turn my experience around with the sunflowers. I don't think about that bad situation with sunflowers anymore. It's something positive to me. It's kind of my, what do you call it? Anthem? Yeah, maybe. My health was affected, I believe, because of the emotional issues that I had from this. I do believe that's why I have some autoimmune issues. So I'm constantly battling this all the time. It physically didn't harm me, but emotionally it's harmed me in a way. So I'm consciously all aware of my emotional health. I'll pass it back to you for a minute, Jennifer, because I feel like I've been talking a lot here. I'm getting emotionally drained talking about it. So, what's your observations on that?
I was writing a lot of notes for what you said, and I love that journaling exercise. And I was thinking, like, what is my warrior? What would be my warrior plant? And I wrote a couple down. I'm like, nope, I settled on these two. If it was a carrier oil, it would be rose hip because it's so nurturing. I'm such a compassionate, loving, heart driven, heart centered person. I lead with my heart. And then I pull my head and my gut into alignment with my heart. So rose hip would be mine. And as a tree, pine, because pine is so, if you get burned, if you get tore down, it's so quick to replenish and rebuild.
Right.
So it's, and there's some really key things I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more on the blend, your warrior blend. How beautiful. All of you know that I think essential oils are like people and they all have personalities. And when you put teams together, they're just so profound. And so when I think of carrot seed, I think of restoratropic. It's very restorative. It restores your soul. You know, when you look at the grasses, it's very strong. It has a strong base, but then it has this grass that can flow in the wind. And so you're rooted, but yet you can be flexible and mobile, which is a key trait, particularly with autoimmune and fibromyalgia. Orange, just tapping into that fun, creative side. Cardamom, I always think of sweet joy. It brings in, it sweetens your breath, which is going to sweeten your voice and how you speak. And so, and sandalwood for parasitic relationships, especially in emotionally abusive relationships. Just a beautiful journey I want to bring into everybody's awareness and just recognize this mindset shift and what it took to see and view sunflowers in as it was given to you, once given to you, because that's part of the mindset manipulation when you're in an emotionally abusive relationship is they manipulate and seduce your mindset and they abuse you. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, and then abuse you. So it makes you question and wonder, am I making a big deal? Is this really happening? Are my emotions valid? And that oscillation is really a struggle point. But how beautiful that you were able to shift your mindset from a place of hurt and replace the negative association with a positive association. And now that positive association, it doesn't only light you up every time you mention sunflower. I feel your resilient strength because you've turned the hurt into a strength. And so again, this is your blend and I love it. And I'll share one too in a few minutes, but wherever you are in your journey, maybe this is a starting point for you. Maybe this is a blend you can do. And then this journaling exercise that Sharon's walked us through, you can journal and connect on a deeper level. And maybe you write your own poetry and let the words flow, whether it's a word dump or run on sentences, and use these tools to help you continue wherever you are on your healing journey. Sharon, I mean, it's a beautiful story, turning tragedy to triumph, as I call it. What a great blend.
Thank you. I don't know actually how I came. I think it was intuitively, just sat there with my essential oils, and these were the ones I was kind of drawn to at the time. I also want to say this was a journey. There was I think there's something goes around on Facebook. It's not a straight line. It's kind of this is what a journey looks like. It's all like a drawing all over the. So you may go backwards, and then you may go forwards again, and then you go backwards, and you've got to be very mindful of relationships after that with everyone, because you're kind of, well, is this person going to do it to me? And I have to say, it's not to the same extent, but it has happened to me again in friendships, or what I thought were friendships at the time. And so it's a difficult journey, and you keep thinking, what is wrong with me? Why am I attracting this energy? What, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? And you're questioning it all the time. And even now, I have days like that. But yeah, this is a great tool, and it's reminded me that I have not done this in a long time as well. You don't have to share this with anybody either. I mean, you don't have to go on a podcast, all this information. It's just for you. You can write it down. Nobody else is going to read it. So it doesn't really matter what it is. You can read it to your dog, or your cat, or whoever. The plants in the garden, if you feel the need to share it with someone, the plants will listen, and they're not going to judge you either. So I think that's the thing. They're taking away that judgment. I'll tell you how I've grown as well from it. And I have to say, my aromatherapy community is what got me through this as well. I didn't really have a community. I do have a local community here now, but I've had to work on that because I was just totally isolated. I went to my aromatherapy conference in 2016 in Utah, the National Association Holistic Aromatherapy. I was not a member of the board or anything at that time. I was working on the journal, but kind of behind the scenes there. And I was watching people, and I think you, Jennifer, you do a great MC. Your energy and your confidence in going up there and speaking to people. And I thought, wow, I'm never going to be like her. She's amazing. I'm never going to be able to get up there and do that. But I know what it took for you to do that. Maybe I know you've talked about it before. So then I went away from that conference, and I think it gave me a little bit more confidence. And then we move on to 2018. And somehow I had positioned myself to be a speaker at the conference, at that one. And that was kind of when it was just broken down into workshops. So it wasn't like in front of everybody. It was in a workshop. But I only got through that presentation because of the support I got from my aromatherapy community at that time. Kind of helped me with handing stuff out and everything. Of course, then COVID hit. So we all went into isolation, and we weren't meeting in person the same, but there was still that connection online. And just to fast forward a little bit, bring to 20, which was just last year. And this is not where I thought I would be. Not only did I get up to do a presentation in front of everybody, but also as a board member, I had to speak to people. I had Harry at my side. I have to say, having Harry was a huge support as well. But I would never have seen myself in that place back in 2016. So it's a slow journey, and we still get that. If you're speaking to people and standing up, we still get that nervous thing. I know you've talked about it, Jennifer, as well.
Yeah, I think you never know where you're going to end up. I was just thinking that this morning on my gratitude walk this morning, of where I am today is not where I saw myself 20 years ago, even 2 years ago, or 1 year ago. I mean, the plan that has unfolded, every experience, good and bad, that we go through is a stepping stone if you let it. It's hard when you're in it. I know I let emotions control me for a long time, and it was really hard to get out of a deep, dark depression and really work through a lot of emotions. But finding the courage and really leaning into your resilience. And it made me think of, you're right. I mean, I used to be petrified to speak in front of people. When I started practicing 20 something years ago, I practiced in front of my mom. I got up in front of my mom and said, "Hi, my name is Jennifer." Kadonk. I passed right out. I couldn't even do that. But one of my number one essential oils for fear, and one that I wanted to share with everybody, is frankincense. Frankincense is so amazing to help you hone in and hold on to your courage, to conquer and overcome. And it doesn't mean fear goes away, right? It's just like the saying, you do it anyway, right? You're still scared, but you do it anyway. Sometimes you're paralyzed and you cannot take a step. But frankincense is so beautiful in doing that. And you mentioned blood orange, which was an arsenal of mine. I love the orange because it provides adrenal support. It also brings in creativity. Sometimes you have to be creative to get out of a situation. And I loved for you leaning on plants, for me leaning on the oils to really tap into that fun loving creative side so you can crack a smile. You can, when you smile, there's some level of hope that fills you up. So I love frankincense. I love sweet orange. Helichrysum is also another very deep healing oil for trauma, whether you're in the beginning, middle, and end. I'm mentioning a lot of oils, but I also want you to be aware of emotional sensitivity when you're formulating. In aromatherapy, a lot of people talk about the physicality, safety precautions, right? Use caution with cinnamon and blood thinners, use caution for this and that. But we forget there's emotional sensitivity. And when you're going through a drama and a trauma, you want a very light blend, because I describe it as, do you want a spoon, a shovel, or a bulldozer? And if you make too strong of a blend, it's a bulldozer to push you. And I remember I learned that early on in my aromatherapy career. I had a client who was in a physically abusive relationship with her spouse. And it was just devastating. She came in for a blend so she could find some love of herself. She was in a deep, dark place. And I made her a blend. And then she came back to me and she's like, well, I think the blend is working because I stood up for myself, but the abuse got worse. And she goes, so please don't make it that strong. And I said, she was not in a place where she wanted help. She didn't want to leave the situation. She chose to stay in the situation. And I felt it was responsible of me to find a way to support her, but meet her where she's at and what she wants. And the blend was not a strong blend, but it was too strong for her. So one drop goes a long way. And I know in one of our past episodes, we talked about sustainability and how much oil you put in a blend. It really makes a difference. So keep in mind, start with a very mild, highly diluted formulation for yourself. And then you can work up from there. Because it can be too strong. And helichrysum is one that I would say start with just 1 or 2 drops, because if you put too much in there, it can take you to a place that you're not ready for. It's not that it's bad, you're just not ready for it. And the same thing with one of my other Wounded Warrior blends is I love yarrow for setting that protection and setting that boundary and protecting your heart and protecting everything about you. So when healing, I have a saying, CPR, is we're compassionate and we have to honor our state of compassion. We have to protect who we are, but know what protection we need, and then resilience. So every blend, emotional healing, should be to help you tap into your compassion, to help you protect your energy and protect your aura field, your emotional field, and to fuel your resilience, and creating that in a diffuser blend, in a roll-on, in a nasal atomizer. So maybe you can take away some points of this in conjunctions with Sharon's blend. And what do you have on hand? Maybe you have a couple of what I said and a couple of what she had, and you're able to fuse that together and then follow the journaling exercise. I know I'm excited to do that following us talking. I think that's going to be important. That's going to be interesting.
And I like with emotional issues, I know I did a roll on, but it was also like inhaling. I think inhalation is probably the best because it's the quickest way to reach your brain. And it's also discreet if you've got an inhaler or a roll on and you're out, and you can just kind of get it out of your purse and do your thing, and it's not that obvious what is going on. Yeah. Diffuser necklace as well. There's lots of various ways you can diffuse it. And also I'm thinking like a room diffuser with that. You've got to be careful because somebody might be in a different place to you with the personal inhaler, or even the smelling salts as well, that you can put the salts in an inhaler. It's personal to you, and it's something you want to carry around. So do make like a little inhaler, a roll on. I have a little inhaler where you can put the salts in as well, and it's a kind of in a little glass tube, and you put it in and you can smell that. It disperses the essential oils that way. What was I going to say? Something else. Yeah, I think the recognition of emotional abuse is, I think it's something that is getting more talked about, because I did not see it as a label applied to me. I did not think I was going through trauma. I don't think I had been through trauma. Just these labels that are put on it. It takes some time to assess what you've been through or going through. And like Jennifer said, don't force a situation with someone if they are going through it. I can tell you from experience, I went backwards and forwards a few times about staying and going and staying and going. And you'll get people frustrated with you. Why the heck are you staying? Why don't you just leave? And it's not that easy. It's not that easy when you're in a relationship like that. I did get help from the local domestic violence center here, and they were the same in giving me this advice. They told me it takes on average about times for the person to leave that relationship. They will go backwards and forwards so many times. And the first time I saw them, and she was going through this list of things with me, and I thought, why is she talking about this? This has got nothing to do with me. I just couldn't process it, this isn't me. So you've got to give people time and meet them where they're at, and just be there for them, like a listening ear or whatever. I mean, I have friends that still won't talk about what happened. They don't really acknowledge what happened to me. People don't want to know what's going on behind closed doors. And you come out and say something, you're the one that's causing trouble, and no, can't possibly have happened, and everything else. But yeah, just believe in you and take care of you, and your feelings are important. So if you're using aromatherapy to help you through this, just know that your feelings do matter. Everyone's got an opinion on anything these days, and you'll see on social media, suddenly everyone's an expert on something. Someone posts something, suddenly they've got it, they PhD in it, they know everything about it, even when they haven't. So you're the only one that knows exactly what you're going through, and my experience might be different to somebody else's experience, or your experience, or whoever's experience. So if you're the one going through it, just acknowledge what you're feeling and what is going to help you. Establish boundaries. I don't think we mentioned boundaries, because boundaries are important, and I did not have boundaries. This is how I got myself into this situation, probably. And people will test your boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, they'll just keep pushing. And even now, I find it difficult sometimes with boundaries. Usually, we're the kind of people in this situation that we're the helpers, not the ones being helped. So we just like, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll do the other, when you're really taking too much on. So remember to establish boundaries. And what essential oils can help with that, Jennifer? Because I know you're an expert on these things.
Yeah, immediately one of the first one that comes to mind is patchouli. I love patchouli for setting
Right.
boundaries.
Yeah.
I also love cedar wood, Cedrus atlantica, because it helps you hone in on your inner strength. And then also Roman chamomile, because it's good for the caretaker, but it helps you to reflect inward. And it goes back to that self-love and self-care and self-respect, to not nurture outward, but nurture inward. And really putting that intent into that blend, and using some of the oils that we've mentioned. The ones that you've mentioned, carrot is good, vetiver, sandalwood, of course, sunflower in the carrier oil and in the essential oil. The other carriers that I love, I do a lot with hemp seed. And hemp seed and jojoba, for two particular reasons. Their molecular structure is almost identical to the body. It's almost identical to our sebum. And the significance of that is it identifies with self. It identifies as when your body, when you put that on your skin, you can absorb that because it sees it as itself. And it's just a reflection on an emotional side of it. The significance is just recognizing you're real, you're you have an identity and you have a voice and you have this amazing brilliance about you. So it really is about that self-reflection and self-honor. So I have the sunflower, jojoba, hemp that's in there because those are just such a powerful blend as a carrier for that. But you're right, setting those healthy boundaries are going to be crucial to every stage of the process. Like you said, you're going to be at these different places and just working through that. So
hydrosols are an alternative as well. If you're feeling, they're great for spraying. If you're like feeling negative energy in your home or around you, you can kind of spray it. So I guess frankincense would be a good one, and rose for self-love. I'm trying to think of anything else. Chamomile, maybe blend the hydrosols together into a spray. If you don't really want to do the roll on, it could be a good thing for spray. Put together some of those that we mentioned that are available as hydrosols in a spray. Just be mindful of where you're spraying it if you have pets or young children or anybody in a condition that you shouldn't be spraying it to. Also, candles. I just came to mind that I make soy candles. You can make beeswax candles. You can put essential oils in there, but I'm thinking as a place of reflection, focus, just spend some time with that candle burning and recognize where you've been and where you are and where you'd like to be, but don't rush that journey. Look at where you've come from, just even if it's one day at a time. The first step for me, the first step was reaching out to the doctor. I honestly thought I was going crazy and I was just at a breaking point. The first thing when I broke down, the first thing she asked me was, are you suicidal? Have you attempted suicide? She recognized these signs straight away in someone like me, and they got me referred to a counselor to talk through all this and make sure that I was still in a situation at that time and trying to form an exit plan. I wouldn't leave my dog in that situation. For me, it was like, no, if he can't come, I'm not going anywhere. We value our pets as well. So the first time, once you recognize it, that, you've made the first step when you've done that. And yeah, I think I maybe reached out to, I don't know, before that, to someone that just really didn't acknowledge what I was going through and didn't really understand. And, as I said, value what you feel in your gut. It's going to be right. And maybe your opinion is not the same as somebody else's, but it's you, it's your life. You're the one, you matter. So do what is best for you.
yeah, absolutely. And, of course, this is just part of a dialogue. And we wanted to start the dialogue and to share what was on our heart and to provide some tools of healing. Like we've talked about, we all are on a different stage, in a different stage of our own emotional healing journey. Every experience, and if you don't like the word trauma or drama, then experience, it's an emotional experience. And when you call it an experience, it has no negative connotation to it. It's not positive or negative, it's neutral. And sometimes you need to be in a place of neutral to continue moving forward. And so we want to thank you all for being here and being a part of our journey and this journey on Aroma Paths Podcast. If you have questions, if you need help, if you're in a situation and don't know what to do, please reach out to get the medical and professional help that you need. There's domestic violence support groups and hotlines, and we will make sure we have those in the comments for you. We just want to be a guiding light for you of, here's some aromatics. This is what we use. These are the tools that we used and we are currently using to work through every emotional experience so that we can honor ourselves, love ourselves, lead by example, and share forward to give hope Hope stands for help one person every day. It could be every minute, every second. And that's really what guides our hearts. So thank you so much for being here. And Sharon, thank you so much for sharing your journey and the tools that have helped you. I think that's so important, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you too. Thank you for being a friend, for being there for me, being support, and being part of my support group community that helps me going from day to day with this, because it is important, and for things that you've been through as well. I mean, we're here for each other, because life isn't easy. It's lots of things, and if we can just help a little way in with some of these aromatherapy tools, we don't have all the answers, but hopefully this may help somebody. If anybody wants to reach out and talk about their experiences, please feel free to do so. But as Jennifer mentioned, if you need professional or medical help, please do reach out to those people that can help you with that, like what I did. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. What are we focusing on next month?
So in our next episode, we're going to be talking about all things aromatherapy and plants for anxiety and depression. So we will continue on this conversation and some of the emotions that come up through that emotional healing journey, that we find and we've experienced is anxiety and depression. So we're going to be talking about that on our next episodes. We can't wait for you to join us. Take care and have a healthy day.
Yes, see you next time. Thank you for listening.
Aroma Paths stepping fresh through the mist. Essential oils lifting vibes, feel the twist. Herbal teas brewing calm in every sip. Going green, earthy dreams never slip.